Always better to be the person holding the gun than the one running from the gunman.
Wendy Byrde is a mob wife for the post-#MeToo era. Her husband, Marty, may have been the one first hired to launder money for the Mexican Navarro drug cartel, but over time, Ozark's resident housewife turned badass reveals herself to be the star criminal mastermind in the family.
You're not just involved with the cartel, you are the cartel.
If we look at the evolution of criminal wives on screen, Wendy is a step forward for all that she's not. She's not just a victim, a complicit supporting player, a cartoonishly villainous femme fatale, or a reflection on her husband's descent into darkness. Wendy outshines her spouse in strategic, cunning drive and lust for power.
I am losing patience with your husband.
Get in line.
She's arguably the smartest and most ambitious character in the show.
Do you really think she's smarter than you are?
No.
And crucially, Wendy's thirst for more feels symbolic of a deeper, universal female dissatisfaction, one which might make her story resonate with and awaken something in viewers who also feel they're lacking an outlet for their own hidden power. Here's our take on how Wendy, the criminal wife who surpasses her man, reflects our present moment, and how we can learn from this anti-heroine's political brilliance to take back our power and seize a bigger life for ourselves.
Quite frankly, I don't give a shit if you like it or not. Because I feel pretty good about it.
If you're new here, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell to be notified about all of our new videos.
My day was very exciting. I went to Costco, and then I went and got groceries, and then I dropped off the recyclables.
Before they moved to the Ozarks, Wendy is an affluent, well-educated housewife who's so bored and depressed that she barely feels alive. And a lot of what she says and does feels forced.
Think about your trampoline. I mean, your father and I fought about getting that for years, and then all of a sudden what happened? The next thing you knew, the two of us were doing backflips out there with you.
In the flashback episode, Kaleidoscope, we see Wendy was never happy with the life of a full-time mom and housewife.
I mean, if we did have this baby, would I ever go back to work again? I just don't see how that could happen, and that's just something I need to do.
She displays strikingly different levels of engagement in her home and work spheres, a genuine spark when she's talking about politics,
And I understand that the future of campaigning is online.
compared with a desperate, exaggerated sweetness as she tries to play the ideal mommy to young Charlotte.
But if you get a job, you won't be here as much.
Oh, sweetheart. I will always be here for you.
Wendy sees herself as much too smart, too much of a professional asset not to return to the workplace after becoming a mother.
My resume clearly tells you that I can do this job.
Yet she finds this world is now closed to her.
You last worked on it in...
2002. I was really pregnant with my daughter Charlotte at the time. Honestly, I didn't think I was going to make it.
Wendy has to redefine how she sees herself.
Teaching him
Well,
English
I
and
work
his
for
record.
political campaigns.
He's well
Or
done. I pay dividends.
I used to anyway.
Which leads to a breakdown.
That's how I've been feeling. It's like a fraud.
She rebounds from this depression by throwing herself into seeking unattainable perfection and total control in her home life. And when that eludes her, she gets used to gritting her teeth and smiling to maintain at least the image of perfection.
Family is like a small business. And with a small business, at times, there comes
Transition.
a bit of a transition. Thank you, Wendy.
After he starts money laundering, Marty shuts off from Wendy and the kids.
It's not your fault. I was just shut down, you know?
Her lonely attempt to play the perfect, happy housewife leaves her feeling so numb, this culminates in her affair,
I was unhappy. You're not exactly blameless in this.
which she begins ostensibly just to feel something.
Because I wanted to be someone else. I wanted to live a different life.
After the Byrdes have to suddenly move to the Ozarks and fight for their lives, Wendy makes an intense effort to maintain a sense of normalcy for the family, captured in the extreme lengths she goes to track down the specific flavor of ice cream Charlotte has casually requested.
I drove an hour and a half to come to this particular supermarket because one of your employees, they told me that you had pistachio ice cream.
Yes, ma'am, I understand.
No, I don't think you do.
Yet in the same episode, when Wendy is confronted with actual problems, that unhinged, tense person is replaced by someone who's cool-headed and in control.
She was calm. They were unified in their story.
Just as she's finally gotten Charlotte's pistachio ice cream home to her kitchen, vultures descend on a dead animal the Langmore boys have left on her lawn as a message. Leaving the ice cream to melt on the counter, she speeds to the Langmore house to lay down the law.
With my daughter, you come near my house again. It'll be you the vultures are picking at.
So later, when Charlotte doesn't show the slightest appreciation for the hell Wendy went through for that ice cream,
it's melted.
Wendy no longer even seems concerned.
Well, it'll be in the freezer when you want it.
She's satisfied because she's asserted her power in a much more important way to protect her daughter that day. Multiple scenes in Wendy's early characterization express this split in her personality between the languishing stay-at-home mom, who's privately despairing under a tightly wound smile, and the self-possessed businesswoman who, no matter how dire the threat, is unflappable.
Just to be clear, this casino is happening.
As the Byrdes settle into their new life of escalating criminal involvement in the Ozarks, Wendy sheds her former conventional mom persona, making increasingly dangerous, gutsy moves. But what we're seeing here is not Wendy changing, but Wendy showing her true colors.
No, I really don't think that'd be in your best interest.
At the beginning of season 3, when she impulsively breaks into the family's former Chicago home to cause chaos and feel the thrill of unnecessary risk, we might recall her telling Marty she did these exact things as a youth.
I'd move picture frames around. I'd turn toothbrushes upside down.
As she gets deeper into her life of crime, Wendy is accessing a part of herself she has buried. She's finding herself for the first time since having her children, maybe even longer.
This is the first time I've recognized my sister in years.
After essentially having been told that the legitimate routes in the career she loves aren't open to her anymore.
You seem like a nice woman and clearly you're qualified. So is everyone else. I'm not coming off recent campaigns.
She's at last regaining a sense of self-worth in the only world where she can be free to realize herself and feel alive.
And whether you've accepted it or not, you're a criminal, Wendy.
As Wendy gains power through her new criminal life, she also becomes a different kind of mother than we're used to seeing on screen. She crosses traditional boundaries in her home life until her kids essentially become her new colleagues.
I mean, would it be possible to open an offshore account with that?
You want to launder money through it? I can do it.
Just this once.
And while this may be twisted, a far cry from our preconceptions of family ideals, eventually her new relationship with her children emerges as more honest, and therefore more solid. At the beginning of the series, she's vying unsuccessfully for her kids' approval while trying to shield them with lies.
But we're a family, so we're making this move as a family. We would prefer if you would see it as an adventure.
Yet after she allows her kids into all the dirty truths, Charlotte and Jonah not only become more mature, competent individuals, they also become rocks for the family who empathize with and help their parents.
She'll never trust me again.
But we thought that. You're gonna get her back.
Increasingly, Wendy's desire to be the perfect mother or to live up to some idealized image of the perfect family takes a backseat to following the deeper natural instincts that drive her as an individual.
Because if you really want to do them a favor, and by that I mean save their lives, then get them out here right now. We'll get in my car and get out of here.
Get the off our property.
In season 3, when Agent Miller tells Wendy to do what's best for her family,
I want you to do what's best for your family.
Wendy's hard demeanor in response reminds us that this woman has spent many years putting her family above everything else, to the degree of erasing herself, and she knows that it doesn't work to live totally for others.
I mean, you want to know why Jonah is laundering money? Because he wants to prove to you that he's useful so that you have to pay some attention to him.
Ultimately, when it comes down to it, Wendy is even willing to sacrifice the life of her own brother to preserve the new life she's built for herself, while keeping her nuclear family safe.
She will kill my children!
As deeply distraught as Wendy is over her role in her brother's death, and as clear as it is that she genuinely loves him, she still manages to return to being a professional after.
She killed your brother.
Helen's our partner. We have no choice but to work with her.
This is where it becomes apparent that the great love of Wendy's life is not her husband, children, or family, but the place where she gets to put her shrewd mind into action: work.
I'm ready to go back to work.
and you're the wife of the top money launderer for the second largest drug cartel in Mexico. Go.
The movie gangster wife or girlfriend is frequently reduced to being simply the sweet, pretty victim of a man who's either a brutal psychopath or a sinner who can't quit the game.
Just from waiting around for that plain little band of gold. A person could develop a cold.
The early on-screen mob wife tends to be used as a plot device without agency, an outlet for male anger, or a symbol to illustrate how evil he's become.
Would you do me a favor, please? Would you kill me?
On the other end of the spectrum, gangster moles in film noir could be purely wicked femme fatales.
I'm poison, sweet, to myself and everybody around me.
Exciting and ambitious, yet largely one-dimensional Lady Macbeths, whose legacy can be seen in modern iterations like House of Cards' Claire Underwood and A Most Violent Years' Anna Morales.
I want him obliterated.
More than that. Let's make him suffer.
Over time, films complicated this picture with criminal wives who were combinations of complicit, rebellious, high-minded, and trapped. In the 70s, Kay in The Godfather represented a stronger, moralizing obstacle to mafia boss Michael Corleone, one who does manage to defy him.
It was a son, and I had it killed because this must all end.
Yet, in the end, is still unable to escape. Michelle Pfeiffer's Elvira in Scarface and Sharon Stone's Ginger in Casino embody the kept mob wife, a fiercely independent and charismatic woman who chafes against, but eventually unravels under her controlling husband's oppression. Goodfellas' Karen is drawn to mobster Henry Hill because of the status and power his life of crime provides.
One night, Bobby Vinton sent us champagne. There was nothing like it.
So when she is later badly victimized by her husband, she's still, to a degree, culpable.
Where's the stuff that I left, Karen?
I flushed it down the toilet.
You what?
What was I supposed to do? They were all over the house.
And starting in 1999, The Sopranos' Carmela Soprano, the template for the modern mob wife on TV, likewise knew exactly who her mafioso husband Tony was when she got involved with him.
The minute I met Tony, I knew who that guy was. You know, whether consciously or not, I knew that behind that power drill, there was probably some guy with a broken arm. You know, or worse.
But the show explores the ways that Carmela compartmentalizes and papers over this awareness.
He's a good man. He's a good father.
While enjoying the materialistic spoils of Tony's ill-gotten success.
All I did was make sure he's got clean clothes in his closet and dinner on his table.
So enabler would be a more accurate job description for you than accomplice.
This woman protects her self-image by viewing herself as a devout Catholic, loving mother, and long-suffering wife.
What the was that for?
I'll write you up a list.
But when push comes to shove, she too engages in mafioso-style bribery, bullying, and force to get her way.
I don't think you understand. I want you to write that letter.
Excuse me?
I said I want you to write the letter.
Are you threatening me?
Most recently, Skylar White from Breaking Bad begins by embodying the mob wife as moral obstacle to her husband Walt's criminal ambitions, before becoming his hostage.
I'm not your wife. I'm your hostage.
His accomplice, and ultimately ending up his deeply damaged victim.
If I have to hear one more time that you did this for the family.
I did it for me.
As another story about an intelligent family man who gets deeply involved in the drug trade, Ozark can't help but draw comparisons with Breaking Bad. And at first, Wendy, another smart blonde mother of two, might seem like an update to Skylar, correcting aspects of that character's writing that let some viewers feel justified in cheering Walt on against his nag wife. But ultimately, Wendy isn't really a Skylar. She's more like her story's Walter White.
What I do for my family.
I am trying to build a future for our family.
Like Walt, she's the one in her story who feels overlooked by her world, who knows deep down that she's an unappreciated genius, who wants a bigger life, and who, the more she tastes of this dangerous existence, the more she likes it.
I was alive.
Because fighting for your life makes every other thing you ever did before seem extremely dull.
In the same flashback where we witness Wendy getting forced into her track as a stay-at-home mom, we learn that Wendy actually approved of Marty's initial decision to get involved with the cartel.
And I guess we're really gonna do this.
while she's expected to be automatically opposed, like many of her on-screen criminal wife predecessors would be.
He was counting on you shutting it down instantly.
Well, he doesn't know me like you do.
All along, Wendy has been the one who's saying yes to risk because she wants more. Traditionally, the on-screen criminal wife's first priority is to keep her family out of danger. But as Wendy's power hunger drives her to get more deeply involved with the Navarro cartel, she is also making the decision to put her family into more danger. As Marty increasingly looks for a way out,
We're gonna get out of it. We need 6 months and then we're free, Wendy.
Wendy separates herself from him, building a direct business relationship with the cartel boss himself, Navarro.
Wendy Byrde.
I wasn't sure if I should call you.
So, over the seasons, it becomes abundantly clear that it isn't Marty, but Wendy who's determining the show's arc and driving the destiny of the Byrde family.
Well, I used the money from the Chicago house, and I bought it. Now, I'm no expert, but I'm pretty sure you can inflate construction costs and you can launder money through it.
In this honest, unflinching look at female criminality, not just through Wendy, but also in Darlene, Ruth, and Helen, Ozark replaces the male character as the assumed driver in any story about crime with his more conniving, manipulative female counterpart.
We could be the very legitimate, very public face of Missouri gaming.
Whose motivations are also fleshed out with a complexity that's traditionally been reserved only for the male antihero.
Besides, little girls need to learn to be on their toes.
Quarter wits need to take their advice and shove it before what's left of their brains leaks out.
And this is important because no longer is the crime wife just responding or reacting to her husband, a commentary on what he does. The women in Ozark are the characters we're fascinated by, the ones who keep us wondering how far they're willing to go.
When the bride took your breath away, becomes the wife. It makes you hold your breath in terror.
As Ozark progresses, we're presented with a new structure for the mob family, one with the wife on top.
It's a good idea. And I did it for our family. What'd you do today?
I always thought you should have stayed in politics. You could have been a big deal.
I could still be a big deal.
While Marty's numbers guy intelligence is like that of a computer and he's shut off from his emotions,
I'm an accountant. I move numbers around.
Wendy's genius is that of a master manipulator who sees into people's motivations and plays their desires and temperaments against them.
I've learned what people really want.
In short, she's the perfect politician.
You're not dogs and goats. You're clearance codes and fundraisers on yachts.
Campaign Insider's David Rosen identifies 6 political personality types. And of these, Wendy's most resembles the Machiavellian.
It's just a game, right? The ends always justify the means. Yeah.
As Rosen describes, Machiavellian personalities are master manipulators. They walk into a room and immediately begin sizing people up to identify their interests and exploit their personality weaknesses for personal and political gain. Winning is everything. The rest is negotiable.
I'm no fan of Charles's politics, but Missouri is tilting red, and reaching across the aisle is the only way to get anything done.
Also, like a master politician, Wendy uses her innocent smile and her perfect wife and mother facade as a front.
I know how to sell the idea of a happy family.
Ironically, as she stops trying to be the perfect wife and mom, Wendy gets better at playing that shiny-looking persona for a public. Meanwhile, her actions become more and more chilling and cold-blooded. Where Marty falters, Wendy remains calculating.
Ruth Langmore's father's dead.
Unemotional.
That would have been a very bad idea.
And remorseless.
She almost died because of what we did.
Rachel almost died because she's a drug addict.
Her politician's resolve means that she can hide her feelings even when she's internally furious.
You do know about the deal, don't you?
We discussed it.
And you know he was about to take it before he was dragged to Kansas City.
I do.
Or distraught and panicked.
Search and seizure laws now say we're not required to answer any of your questions, and if you want to search this vehicle, you're going to have to get a warrant.
She'll never let the cracks show to outsiders.
God damn it. What are you trying to do to me?
Wendy's intelligence is rewarding to watch because we get to participate in it. So often with smart characters on screen, we're either told a lot about their genius without really seeing it in action, or we watch them pull off superheroic intellectual feats, but aren't really given a view into how their minds are working.
What is it like in your funny little brains? It must be so boring.
On Ozark, we get to see how Wendy's mind operates and be impressed by it.
Who's he with?
Steve Simmons, Chief Compliance Officer.
Someone's been studying.
You're surprised?
She's incredibly emotionally astute, genuinely interested in what drives other people, and forges connections by uncovering their needs.
We are all parents here. And if this war goes wrong, what can you leave your kids?
She does her research on who she's talking to, so she can better manipulate them.
And I refute anybody who says that Christian values and capitalism can't coexist.
Like any brilliant politician, she can effortlessly deflect.
A casino deal is completely legal.
But she's also honest when it benefits.
You're trying to buy me?
Yes, I am. I am also trying to do some good here.
She'll happily become vulnerable if it works as part of a wider plan.
I fell into my own depression when I lost a child.
People become invested in Wendy. Strikingly, though, they tend to end up disillusioned with her.
We may have dipped our toe in the friendship pool, but I'm not sure we're gonna swim.
Fine with me.
After they inevitably glimpse the real Wendy, not the persona she shapeshifted into to win them, but a woman who's willing to do whatever it takes to get what she wants, which is, as for many a politician, always more power. Like a combination of Walter White and Lady Macbeth,
will these hands now be clean?
Wendy is the character we watch pushing moral boundaries, at risk of going over an edge she can't recover from, and struggling with the spiritual consequences of her choices.
Adam and Eve probably grabbed that apple because they were starving, and it was the first tree they saw.
And it's refreshing to see a formidable woman leading us in these dark inquiries.
Never let a good crisis go to waste.
Wendy sends a message to bored housewives everywhere that it's never too late to turn your life around, whether that's for good or evil.
Because this is who I am, and this is who I want to be.
Hi everyone, I'm Susanna.
I'm Deborah, and we're the creators of The Take.
Please subscribe and tell us what you want our take on next.